Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How are you guys? It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Happy Easter to my Christian subscribers. I hope you guys are having a good day. I know it's not a normal holiday for you, so I hope you guys are doing the best you can to enjoy it and celebrate as families. We are not Christian in this house, but we still had the Easter Bunny stop by, if you know what I'm saying. He brought some stuff for my son. We had some eggs this morning. Just your average day. All right. So, welcome to my channel. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Today I was thinking about doing something a little bit different. So tonight is the season finale of Sister Wives. And on the season finale, Maddie is going to have her daughter, Evie. And there's also going to be I don't know, maybe they'll finally close on their dang house in Las Vegas. I have no idea. And who knows? But it seems like a weird place for the season to end because I don't really feel like there's been any sort of resolution with really anything. And yeah, I'm just feeling weird. So I started reading Becoming Sister Wives. I think I told you guys about that. And I was reading the book, and I was kind of like, as I started reading the book, I was like, what is going on with this family? Like, what is going on with this family? And why are they such a mess? Can't hear me. You should be able to hear me. So and I was reading through the book and I was like, well, let's sort of talk about some things because there's been some, I don't know, tension this season. There's been some issues with, Robyn and Cody not getting along over this house issue. There's been some questions about his current relationship with Mary. There's been some overriding questions about like how much time does Cody actually spend with any of the other wives besides Robyn. Robyn has said multiple times like my kids are always asking where daddy is, and that had us wondering like did he take a fifth wife, because it's clearly he's not spending time with the other wives, right? He couldn't possibly be. So I was like, okay, first off, there's some issues with Robyn, and I feel like they never really address them right off the bat. And I was reading Becoming Sister Wives, and I feel like I have a really good understanding of what's going on here, because this season, I think more than any other season, we are seeing Robyn in a position where she actually feels like she's the matriarch of the family. She speaks for Cody. She speaks about Cody as though she has control of Cody. She talks about how like, remember when Mary was having issues with moving and she was just like, well, Cody's just, she's like, well, Cody's just, he'll be there. Like as though she controls where Cody goes and what he does and what happens and all of that. And I was like, And then I was like, has it always been like this? Because I've watched most of the seasons and I've been like, I don't know. So I was reading their book and I thought, let's kind of go back through it. And I realized after reading this book that Robyn was literally never designed to be a plural wife. Never. Never. She was never supposed to be a plural wife. In fact, she was married to a guy and they were monogamous. She had no experience being a plural wife until she came into the Brown family. And she was reluctant to join as a fourth wife when she got married. And when I was reading her chapter of the book about meeting Cody, I feel like this kind of gives you an indication of like her mindset. And then when you see how the other wives reacted, it's pretty clear that once she joined this family, And you know most of this, you guys know this already, but the family never recovered. So I want to share this with you and I'll show you. Oh, it closed out. Hold on a second. Okay. So in her chapter, she talks about her marriage. And so she says, both my marriage and its collapse were incredibly difficult for me. I suffered a lot of pain and hardship. I had been badly mistreated and misled by my ex-husband. The aftermath of my marriage left me feeling vulnerable and used, as well as exposed and helpless. I felt betrayed. I needed to regain my confidence and my inner strength to ensure that I would never be mistreated again. And it took me a while to realize that the only person I could rely on and protect me was myself. So right off the bat, she joins this family when she's like healing from the wound of her marriage. And she's right off the bat saying, I'm never going to feel that way again. I am never going to deal with this. And yes, she grew up in a poly household, but that doesn't mean she was prepared to be a polygamous wife. Just because you grow up with plural wives in your home and a plural family doesn't mean you're prepared to be a plural wife at all. And her previous experience is the book I'm talking about is Becoming Sister Wives. Okay. So I don't think she was supposed to ever be a plural wife. She grew up in polygamy, but she was never supposed to be a plural wife. So she says that it took me a while to realize that the only person that I could rely on and protect myself was myself. And then in the book, she goes on to say that she developed an alter ego called She-Ra. And she represented my tougher, bolder side. Since no one would come to my rescue, I transferred part of me into my own superhero. Why did she become She-Ra? It seems like so bizarre. The book was written in 2013, and it really is just the beginning of their family when Robyn joins. The book talks at the end about the celebrity of the show, but it really isn't about the show at all. And she says, She-Ra helped me protect the softer, more sensitive parts of my psyche. She built a wall around me so they wouldn't be battered and bruised. I knew that it was going to be going against my nature to throw away the kindness, caring that are important parts of my character. So instead, I developed this mechanism to shield them. She-Ra helped me put up my fortress around my vulnerabilities and developed a hard, impenetrable side so I wouldn't fall for anyone's tricks again. And I feel like we see this She-Ra all the time. All the time. First off, why She-Ra? Could you not come up with your own superhero? She-Ra already was this blonde vixen who was He-Man's sister, and she was never going to be a polygamist, okay? Never. She-Ra had way too much self-esteem for that. So right off the bat, she says, She-Ra was instrumental in helping me cope with the emotional turmoil caused by my marriage. She was there to ensure that I would never be hurt again by any man. I was like, oh, sorry. Where did it go? And then, like, you know, she talks about how she met Cody and, like, she had to sort of, like, get rid of the She-Ra. And She-Ra almost, like, got in the way of her relationship with Cody. So I think of all of the sister wives, she is the most controlling. She has gone through a divorce where she had kids from it. Janelle was previously married to Mary's brother, but she didn't have any kids from that relationship. Robyn left her relationship with 3 kids, and she was a single mom, so she lived by herself for several years after her divorce ended. She was super independent by the time she actually was with Cody, and I think She-Ra is back. And I don't think that the Robyn that we're seeing anymore is like the Robyn that's going to put up with crap. I feel like the longer she's there and her favorite position has been made, she's going to stay in that position. She is going to be the person that is like, I control Cody. I am the favorite wife. And she tries to act very humbly, But I noticed in her, the way that she describes herself and talks about herself, she has this incredibly high opinion of herself. And she's like, I'm very emotionally intelligent. I am very good at these things. I am very blah, 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 blah. And it's fine to have confidence, but I almost sense a tinge of narcissism in Robyn. So she says that she met him when she visited her cousin Reba after her divorce was finalized. Then there's this whole issue of she wanted a good man. She decided that she actually wanted to marry him because of his relationships with the kids. He was like really good with, all the kids in the family. He was a good father. He was a good husband. But the interesting thing is that once she's brought into the family, Mary's the one who chose her because they met her. And Mary is the one that brings her in. And then once she comes in, Mary admits that she can't even handle it. And she's like, I was instrumental in bringing Robyn and Cody together, and now I wasn't needed anymore. Since Robyn lived so far away, Cody had to spend so much more time away from the house in order to court her. At first, he'd take a wife and a couple of kids with him on these trips, as the whole family would need to get to know them. Eventually, it was better for him to include the wives. Cody and Robyn started courting at the absolute lowest point of my marriage. She was insecure. I liked Robyn and I felt a connection to her and I wanted Cody to court her, but when it came down to it, I was actually dealing with those emotions on top of the emotions I was already having of my struggling relationship with Cody. So she and Cody were already on the outs. By the time that he brings in Robyn, she's on the outs with Mary. Cody and Mary's union is fractured. They don't get along very well. And so then she starts taking everything out on Robyn. She's like, Cody and I had fallen into a vicious cycle with each other, dealing with the hurt, anger, rejection, and sadness and joy. And they just had little to talk about. They didn't like being around each other. They start going through a marriage counselor. Robyn took an active role in trying to forge a good relationship with me and was patient with me and took the time to listen to me when I was struggling. But the relationship and Cody and Robyn was new and exciting, and it made Mary jealous. In fact, the relationship between Cody and Robyn made all of them jealous. And as I was going through each one of their chapters about Robyn joining, it was very clear that all of them struggled with her entering. And I, to be honest, don't think they've ever recovered. I don't see, when you see them on TV, do you see a relationship between any of these wives that actually seems authentic and true and they get along? No. I don't see, I think Robyn tries, but I don't see any of these women actually caring. And I don't think Robyn really wants to get along with these wives, because I don't think Robyn ever really wanted to be a plural wife, no matter how many times that she says it. Otherwise, she would not be trying to be the one that's with him all the time. She would be respectful of him being with his other wives. So either Cody doesn't want to be with his other wives, or Robyn demands so much of his time. And one thing that they've talked about that's been sort of in the gossip rags is that Cody tried to court a fifth wife last year, and apparently it blew up because Robyn didn't like that he started spending more time with this woman and didn't have enough time for her. I think she has a hold on Cody and she gets what she wants. Mary talks about blaming Robyn for everything. Now, she admits at one point that their relationship becomes better. But it's interesting because Janelle talks about it in a different way. She talks about how they bring Robyn in right when they start talking about going on to TLC. And she was fine with it. But she also says that she brought 3 children into the family, which was challenging. Janelle calls her parenting as like a coddler. She babies her kids. She's overprotective. She's just not a mother of like polygamists, because they all have like a million kids and they always had this rule like, if you can't, like, you got to figure it out yourself. Whereas like Robyn is like, we're going to talk about all of this. So these women had a whole system of like not coddling the kids, and Robyn like is a baby. And so I don't think they've ever sort of sorted out their parenting. I think Robyn has always wanted to be just a single wife. To be honest, the more I'm reading this book, I'm like, I don't buy it. She admits that Lady Page says, I read this book as well. She's always been very manipulative. She uses that fake crying with no tears to get her way. She's also very controlling. I agree. Have you ever noticed the amount of time she cries and no tears come out? And how she always talks about how she's such a great problem solver and how sweet and caring and loving she is of her sister wives. And I don't actually see the tenderness there. So she says that Robyn takes the lead in family discussions. So right off the bat, Robyn comes into this marriage and takes over family discussions. She keeps a cool head and navigates us through difficult waters. She never lets us leave the room until we've settled an issue. She brought much into our family during the first few months after she married Cody. I felt as if I were wearing shoes on the wrong feet. Our rhythm was disrupted, and I'm afraid we were all a little brutal on her. When Robyn joined the family, I was very busy with my kids and my job, and I was hard-headed and believed that I didn't have time or need for her, this new person. I imagined Robyn and I could live as if we were riding in the same car but looking out separate windows. I had worked hard to find equilibrium with Christine and Mary, and the three of us had formed our own sort of partnership. And as far as bringing Robyn into the family, I didn't have any reservations. I just hadn't committed to the necessary emotional and practical work involved. As much as Janelle says later on in that same chapter that she has grown to like really care for Robyn, I don't believe at all that it's ever left that chapter. Like, I don't believe that she's ever left this position of, I just didn't want to accept her. Because I don't think they ever have. I don't think those women ever have. And I think because Robyn's relationship with Cody is so different, and he courted her so much longer, and he really seemed to love her and be in love with her. I mean, because Janelle and Christine admit that they married Cody before they were ever in love with him. Robyn was in love with Cody, and Cody was in love with Robyn before they ever got married. Very similar to Mary and Cody. They were in love with each other before they ever got married. Christine said they didn't even fall in love with Cody until like months and months and months, even after their first child. Janelle didn't fall in love with him until almost a decade into their marriage. Think about that. I don't think Janelle ever has actually been in love with Cody. And then this is Christine. Christine, can we just pause here? Oh, Christina. I feel like Cody in their relationship got scraps from his religion. It's the society. I don't think that they try because they're all outcast, so it makes good TV. He got scraps from his religion. I don't really understand that, Christina, but thank you so much for your super cats. But they are definitely outcasts in society, for sure. So she says, I feel like I owe Robyn an apology. In many ways, I betrayed her before she and Cody were courting. I was really enthusiastic about her. I wanted to love her and the family and to love me. I went out of my way to show her our best side. But she says, when she and Cody courted and married, I was no longer the sweet person Robyn met. I disappeared. I feel guilty for offering something to Robyn I couldn't provide. The courtship came at a time of personal upheaval. I was pregnant with Truly and had also entered a new uncharted territory with the show. I never thought I'd feel such a sense of loss and crippling jealousy. Despite my testimony that Cody courting Robyn was the right thing to do, I could not curtail my own insecurities of Cody was abandoning me. Remember, she was like a million months pregnant and they actually got married and went on a honeymoon the same time she delivered Truly. Cody abandoned Christine when she was pregnant with her final child, and she was the favorite for the longest time at the very end of that like the years leading up to Robyn becoming a part of that family. And so I feel like Christine and his relationship, although they say it's recovered, I don't think it ever did recover once Robyn joined. I don't see any sort of physical chemistry between the two of them anymore. And then she said that during, when I returned from my honeymoon, here's the thing too. Robyn, check this out, because Robyn joins during the time the show starts. The show makes it a whole huge ordeal, according to Robyn. It was the show's idea to have the huge wedding. It was the show's idea to have the big honeymoon. But she says that the honeymoon was a huge problem and created a humongous rift from the go. And she says, I was a single mom. I needed this time. I needed the 2-week honeymoon. I had to have that honeymoon. You had to have a 2-week honeymoon with a man who was married already and take him away from his kids and his newborn daughter. You had to have that so you would feel comfortable. She came into this relationship as an individual, and she's never left that individual mindset. Even as much as she pretends that she cares and she pretends that she wants to be in a single, in a polygamous family, have never seen her actually take a position of being a good sister wife. And I don't think there's a thing as a good sister wife, because being a sister wife makes nobody a good person. You shouldn't share your husbands, ladies. I didn't anticipate how much my sister-in-laws would struggle with me coming into the family. You didn't? You really married him when he was pregnant with Christine. You got a humongous wedding that none of the rest got. You got a 2-week honeymoon, which, by the way, Christine never had a honeymoon with him, really. And then you don't understand that they're going to struggle with you. And then she pretends through her chapter that, all of the issues are because of, they have this history. I think, no, it's more like Cody met you. He fell in love with you. You are the only one he actually cares about. And then these other 3 ladies are forced to hang on because of the covenants that they've taken. And instead of you guys just admitting that it's you and him against the world now, you are forcing these other 3 ladies to hang on. You are forcing them to be there. And I think this is why this year you actually hear both Robyn and Cody say, if anyone wants to leave this relationship, they can. Robyn even admitted that she would never stay in a situation where she wasn't fully comfortable, and she would never be unhappy in a relationship again, because she's already gone through that one time. And I feel like with her idea of knowing that she's always got that one foot out the door, how do you ever get comfortable with someone who's already had broken up their family, comes into the relationship as She-Ra, takes over the family, changes the dynamic? And when I spoke to someone from Sound Choices Coalition about Robyn, and I said, what do you think, in this world of polygamy, what would you call Robyn? And she said, I call Robyn the family breaker. And I said, what do you mean? She said, Robyn broke the family. Not because of Robyn, just because Robyn literally broke the family. Cody picked Robyn, Robyn picked Cody, and then the family never recovered. And I was like, does that happen in plural marriage? And she said, it can. But she also said it's not typical for a polygamist father like Cody to favor a wife as much and for as long as he's favored Robyn. And the fact that he hasn't taken another wife says that she has a level of control with him that the other wives don't. So This is like the stuff where I think she's a narcissist. She says, I'm very emotionally sensitive to those around me, which makes it difficult to turn my back on even the smallest issue between the two of us, two kids. No, I actually think she's controlling. I think Robyn's incredibly controlling. It's my nature to be emotionally in tune with everything around me, both bad and good. This is the part of this that I actually, so do you remember this past week in the therapy session, Mary said, you know, a relationship is like a muscle. You have to work it. Look at this. When I think about our relationships and how we develop them, I often think about it as a muscle. A muscle does not grow. It gets stronger until it's pushed, tested, and sometimes even torn. Then you work it out, and you are stretching and testing his muscle until it hurts. But when you are done, your muscle is stronger, and that's what our relationships are like. I'm idealistic about love and marriage. I want all the amazing love I share with Cody and the wonderful friendships I know I can have with my sister wives. Being part of the Brown family is exciting and surprising. Being part of the Brown family. To me, that doesn't say you have this permanent place. It's like I've just taken this temporary position of being a part of this family for right now, not necessarily forever. I feel like she's always got that idea because she's been divorced once that she can go again at any time. My girls and I don't eat a lot. Even if there is an ice cream, there's usually something worth foraging for in my cabinet since food has a tendency to last longer at my house. My girls and I don't eat a lot. I struggle to have an appetite, but Brianna and I both are hypoglycemic, which means we always need to have emergency snacks on hand so that if we experience a blood sugar crash, we can survive. Dig. I don't eat a lot, but those sister wives, they're curvier. And now look at Robyn 10 years later. She is just as curvy. She's curvy just like the rest of them now. You know, it's like, I don't know. She is a marriage breaker. She is a family breaker. And obviously, Cody plays a part in this, but this is to me why these relationships just don't work, aren't practical. And the fact that she's like, we're not big eaters like the rest of them. It's so obvious that Cody has told Robyn what Mary said in counseling. Where else did she get the same phrase from? Well, the book came well before Mary's counseling session. So I don't know if Robyn came up with that or if Mary did, but that book was written in 2012. Mary and Cody were just in therapy this year. So Lori Ann says, funny how things change. Now, I don't care that she's gained weight. I just think it's funny that, you know, she's digging on them 8 years ago about them eating a lot. And now look where she is today. So she's impressed by him as a father, but was okay with him leaving Christine alone when a baby was due. Wow, Robyn. That was my thought. How can you be impressed with a man who's okay abandoning his wife, who's pregnant with the 6th child, and let him leave on a honeymoon with you for 2 weeks? How does that make him a good father? What happens after babies and age? That happens after babies and age sometimes. Absolutely. Gaining weight is pretty natural as you get older. Your metabolism slows down. Your bodies change. Women's hormones change. This is all a natural part of being an adult. And she's younger. She's like 7-8 years younger than the ladies. So she's basically now where they were when she met them in terms of their age. So it's sort of like karma. And I feel like she still babies her kids. And if you don't know this by now, you should. But they are in Flagstaff, not because they wanted to be, but because Dalton decided that he was going to go to school there and Robyn could not be away from him. And so she had the entire family move to Flagstaff so that she didn't have to be away from Dalton. Think about that. Think about the power this person has. If I were the rest of the family at this point, I would say this. Janelle, go. Christine, leave. Mary, take off. Robyn and Cody just want to be together. They don't want you in their marriage. They don't want you around. Cody is quarantining with Robyn right now. It's pretty clear he doesn't give a crap about the other ladies. It's all just because I took a covenant. I don't think he wants to be a plural husband anymore. I'm sorry, Dayton, not Dalton. I apologize. Sharissa over on YouTube says Robyn won't stop picking until the other 3 wives are out of the picture. Once Mary leaves, the other 2 will slowly walk away too. Debbie said, I heard Cody wants someone in their 20s to become a 5th wife. That wouldn't surprise me, Debbie, because he needs to have more children for the kingdom. And so if he wants to have more kids, he needs to have a woman that's younger that can bear children. And over on Facebook, Cody definitely only wants Robyn now. It's very obvious he's always with her. Exactly, Katrina. It's very obvious that he only wants Robyn. And Mrs. Smith says, I think Mary stayed because she was the legal wife. Getting a divorce so he could marry Robyn was the final straw. I agree. I feel bad for Dayton. He needs his independence. I agree with that too. She wants her kids to stay living with them even as they go into college. And that was one of the reasons why they had to have this house with 1 million different rooms, was because they were going to keep their oldest children, who, by the way, don't need to live with them, and stay there. Michelle, I don't think she is either. Maybe she thought he could lure him away with the other woman. Maybe. You know, there's a lot of things going on in play here. She uses Ariel to keep Cody by saying that she won't sleep like everyone else does. Date doesn't have a schedule. Well, he's responsible for setting that schedule. Gerald says, it's all for show for Robyn and Cody. I don't see Robyn letting Cody getting another wife. No way, she's already jealous. I agree, Gerald, for sure. Can I just say I see it's awesome when I get some guys here in the chat. Robyn's babies, her kids, at some point you have to let them grow on their own. It's part of life. Exactly, Katrina. Exactly. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and thank you guys for joining me. This live stream will be available shortly as an upload if you missed it, but I appreciate you being with me. Make sure you leave some comments and tell me what your thoughts are. Bye, guys.